Hey, so it says I'm live. Um, it's been a while since I streamed, and nobody really watches my streams anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, just I don't really have shit going on today, and I said in the past that I was going to talk about like my personal courtship history and everything like that. After I did that one stream talking about relationship advice, I also think I mentioned a really complicated formula for dating, so we'll probably get into that till the end. But yeah, probably won't be too long. Just talk a bit about that, my personal courtship history, if you will. And so yeah, I guess we get into it. So I have had not too many relationships. Um, though think about like you know I've always been a helpless romantic in that sense, and this kind of goes back to my first relationship, very young, probably 11, maybe 12, even younger, right? One of the only women that I've ever truly loved, right? Only two women that I've ever truly loved in my life, right? Raven from Teen Titans, and the other one, who is not a fictional character, but I'm not going to tell you her name because every time I say it, a part of me dies inside. So yeah, so yeah, this was mainly a long distance thing. Um, I feel hard and fast. I'm prone to doing that as a helpless romantic. It's a gift and a curse, right? In a sense that you know, it's a curse because you fall hard and fast like every freaking time. But I always bounce back. I can't help it. That's why I prefer the term helpless romantic. Um, because I can't help it, right? Just always looking for that, right? I've always loved the idea of that, like in love with the idea of love. They say, yeah, that's like picturesque me. So yeah, but this was a very long distance thing, very young, right? Like I said, kid, not even teenager, right? Um, and you know, we lived out of state. Where my cousins live. She probably doesn't remember me at all. Um, she might have some vague recollection of me. I don't know. I know she's married now, and I wish her nothing but the best. But I'm still kind of hung up on her because one of the only ones I've ever truly loved. So you know, um, get into that, right? But this sort of introduced me, I guess, to the idea. Um, love is kind of like a drug, and at way too young of an age, I was given way too potent of a dose. This shit needs to come with warning labels, man. I'm telling you, because that just kind of fucked me up. But yeah, I mean, this was relatively serious for how young we were, but like I said, almost certainly meant more to me than it did to her. I don't have any expectations or anything like that she even remembers me. I'm sure that like that song says, she doesn't know who I am, and she doesn't give a damn about me. Um, which is fine, it's just that's the way it goes, right? But yeah, this kind of introduction to it, right? And then from there, I've been on the lookout for it ever since. Um, it ended in not a great way. I did some shit that I'm not proud of. I thought she didn't like me anymore, so I acted out, and you know, yeah, I was a dumb kid anyway, so yeah. But let's see, fast forward multiple years now, right? Teenager, horny teenager, which is relevant because I this the next girl, right? Um, I guess, I mean, I don't want to dox anybody, or I can tell you the name, right? It doesn't really matter. Gabby. So yeah, she was. I never really liked her. I mean, wasn't really like super into her. I mainly dated her for her reputation. She had this reputation of like, if you were dating her and you played truth or dare, you could like dare her to give you a blowjob, and she'd give you a blowjob. So, like I said, horny teenager. I was like all about that shit. So I was like, all right, let's do this. I never got that blowjob, but so reputation's not all they cracked up to be, I guess. But sometimes it'd be like that. And that was basically that. I mean, this was not very serious at all. I hardly remember it. She lived in a trailer park that doesn't exist anymore, close to where I live. Me and my friends would ride our bikes up there and shit. And we'd hang out, play truth or dare. But like I said, I never actually went anywhere with that shit. So you know, yeah. I mean, it was an experience, right? It's all an experience, right? But it wasn't super serious. I wasn't super into it. I wasn't heartbroken when she broke up with me or whatever, right? Which was over the phone, because I've never had anyone um with the common decency to actually break up with me in person. Well, broke up with me over the phone or Facebook that one time. We'll get into that, but yeah. I mean, like, at this point, if I was dating somebody who broke up with me in person, I'd just shake their hand and thank them for their decency, because this has really turned me against the whole idea of breaking up with somebody over the phone. Like, it's completely unacceptable. Don't ever do it. Never, ever, under any circumstances. I don't give a shit what kind of excuses you make, even if it's long distance or whatever. Right? Like, I don't care if you live in London. Bitch, buy a plane ticket. Like, this is not like, don't ever break up with somebody over the phone or over text or something like that. It's a terrible, just mean, fucked up thing to do. And I know from experience. Have some fucking common fucking decency and do it in person. Yeah. Um, Next one. This is going pretty quick, right? Um, Next one meant something to me. I didn't mean shit to her. That girl must have been facts, because she didn't care about my feelings. Funny Ben Shapiro me. But so this chick Haley, met her online. Um and we talked a bit, and then we hung out. Um when we hung out, right, when she met me, right? She was kind of fucking crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Also, I was like 18 and she was like 14, but I didn't know that at the time. She said she was 17. Apparently everybody else knew that, like my brother and everything, who met her. Like, I told him after I found out, I was like, she was 14. He was like, yeah, dude. And I was like, what? Because I'm bad at that game, man. I can't tell how old people are. Because her mom told me after she broke up with me, essentially, uh that she was 14. And like, never in my life was I more thankful for not getting laid, because it was like, fuck. Um but this chick was crazy, right? So I didn't drive at the time, but I had a friend that did. And he drove me up to like go pick her up or whatever, right? Hang out. And she really liked my friend. My friend did not like her, though. Um and she told me that she wanted to date me and my friend, right? Which made me all kinds of uncomfortable. That was just like weird. And I told my friend that. He was like, dude, don't worry about it. I don't like her. I don't like her. So that was awkward. Um, and then, like, she never really liked me. I was still a bit of a cringy teenager at that point. So I fucking We were walking back at night, um, and from getting weed, and I asked if we could spoon, right? Which, yeah, I mean, fucking cringy, right? I mean, who asks that? You just like, but you know, that was me back then, so I did. And we were holding hands, and she just like took her hand, got really uncomfortable, got really weird. I apologized, all that shit. Um, but it was clear she didn't like me. And I tried to like find out what was going on. Finally, she told me over Facebook that like, you know, when we kissed or whatever, it wasn't. She didn't feel the way she expected to feel. So I said, I'm sorry, I couldn't make the earth stand still. Right? She didn't. I didn't give her that foot pop. Right? Heard that in a movie once. Right? Makes your foot pop. Yeah, I couldn't do that for her. Couldn't make the earth stand still. So I apologize for that, for not being able to literally violate the laws of physics and make the earth stand still for her. So that was my bad. Um, but this one also interesting aside, right? Worst response to "I love you." I learned this here. Um, she told me that she loved me over the phone, and my response was, and I quote, "Can I call you back?" Don't ever say, "Can I call you back?" if someone tells you that they love you. Like, don't say, "Can I call you back?" That's the worst response. But like I said, helpless romantic, fall hard and fast every time, and so it was like nervous about like saying it too fast. So when she said it, I didn't want to say it back, even though I probably could have, right? And I did eventually. Um, Now I don't really give a shit about her, which is why I say I didn't actually truly love her, right? Um, because I've gotten over most of these chicks, except for the first one that I mentioned, and of course Raven from Teen Titans. Um, Only two women I've ever truly loved because I'm not over them. Um, and yeah, so that was weird. Then a little while later, she messaged me and asked me for my drug dealer's number. She was like, "Hey, can I get your weed dealer's number?" I was like, "The fuck?" He didn't like her either. Nobody liked this bitch. But I just wanted somebody. Um yeah. So fast forward from that one, we have um Amanda. Met her at school. Um this would have been, I was like a super, super senior. So this was, I don't know. It was some fucking specialty school or whatever, um, around where I live. And, um, yeah, I think she did actually like me. And I actually liked her too. I liked her more when I got to know her. Like, when I got to know her, she became like just stunningly beautiful to me, right? Like, when I first saw her, she was like reasonably attractive. But then, like, when I got to know her better, like, she became more attractive to me. Like I mean, physically more attractive. Like when I got to know her personality, like that, like reflected on the outside. She like became more physically attractive to me. Um, it's kind of a weird thing, right? You can kind of like you can get to know somebody, and that can like reflect that like we talk about the inside and the outside, but that inside can sometimes reflect on the outside. You get to know somebody's personality, and that can reflect on how the outside appearance comes off. Um, Kind of a cool thing, but that's kind of when I realized that. Um, and she asked me out, I think. Yeah, pretty sure. Can't remember how that actually started, but um, she said she liked me, and you know, I liked her at that point. But I'm not really sure how much she liked me. Just the one that broke up with me over Facebook. Said she wasn't over her ex. Um, you know, I also this one I had a stupid response to the "I love you" thing too. I was going for something, but I don't. It kind of came off as fucked up. So she gave me this like letter, like "I heart you" kind of thing, which was nice when I talked to her about it. Right, and I was going for something that I wanted to sound really nice, but I think it actually kind of came off as like, I don't know, insulting, maybe a little bit, which I heard after I said it, but like in my mind, it was like, yeah, this is great. Um, and it was, you know, what's that song? Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. Um, those three words are said too much. They're not enough. Like I said, I was going for something there. I mean, it works great in the song, but after I said it, I was like, she was confused, and I was like, yeah, fuck. So then I just said it. Um, then she sent me a Facebook message a little while later, like, "Hey, I'm not over my ex yet." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, what else can you say at that point? Like, fuck. I mean, we hung out a lot at school and shit. And they're supposed to meet up outside of school. I ended up going up there really late. One time we arranged it, right? Her parents didn't know that we were dating. She told me that they were strict. I don't know, never met him. She could have just been lying. Maybe she was never into me, but I failed to actually see the motive here because, like I've been a paranoid fuck about that shit like all my life, but like, you know, at this point, you fail to see a motive, right? Like, there was no like, I didn't like end up with pig's blood dumped on me at the prom or anything like that. So I don't like see if she was just pretending to be into me, like what exactly was the long con going on there. It was, um, but it's a bit weird that like, like we were gonna meet up late, like she was gonna sneak out or whatever, and I went to her house, and apparently she forgot that we were gonna meet up, and I went knocked on her window like she told me to, um, and then just ran off the property. Um, and if I did get caught, if her parents came out or something, I was gonna say I'm sorry. I thought this was my drug dealer's house, and then just dip. Um, but uh, yeah. So that didn't really, yeah, who knows, um, about that. Next one, Kathleen, a friend of a friend. Um, met her at a party. Um, and she asked me out. Um, and I said yes. And we hung out. She asked me out actually when I was in Hawaii. Sent me a text, said, "Will you be my BF?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." I actually called my friend to verify that BF didn't have another meaning. Because I mean, of course, I knew BF meant boyfriend, but I mean, like, I didn't want to like embarrass myself, and she meant something else. Right? She was like, "No, I wanted to go to a Star Wars convention and want you to dress up as Boba Fett or something." Like, I don't know all the meanings of all the things. So, you know, went, you know, um, dated for a bit. She went to college in Spokane. I guess she thought I was lazy. Fair enough, but um, she broke up with me. Then we got back together. Then she broke up with me again. Um, again over the phone. right? Um, I wrote her a letter. After that, she never responded to it. Um, she had another dude, so I'm pretty sure she broke up with me for some other guy, which I mean makes sense. But yeah, I wrote her a letter because I just had things to say. It was emotional and everything. The letter helped. Um, you know, now I don't really care. um, but the letter helped me at the time get those emotions out and everything like that. She never responded to it though. I'm pretty sure she got it. Um, yeah, it's just it's crazy. That kind of shit. Last one. Uh, never really officially dated. It's real weird. Um, I really liked her, and I'm pretty sure she really liked me too. But it was kind of like a whole situational thing. Like, um, there was a bunch of things that kind of made this awkward, right? Lindsay is her name, and she lived by me. She was friends with my mom. She had a daughter who was friends with my sister. Um, and was like going through a divorce. And so that made it like real awkward. She's like 14 years older than me or whatever. Um, so a whole bunch of things there that just like, but I'm pretty sure she liked me. With different kinds of hints that like what was one when she was leaving, moving to Ocean Shores. Um, I got a bit sad, so I reacted. We were talking, told her she was running away from her problems. So I'm not running away. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I just, I don't want you to go. She's like, I don't want to go either. You're my everything, right? So that, you're my everything is, I mean, that's a hint. Um, I consciously don't take hints though, because I've seen this movie 1,000 fucking times. Somebody says something, you think it's a hint, and it creates awkward, embarrassing situations. So you avoid that. I consciously ignore hints like that. Um, Other hint. When I went and visited her in Ocean Shores last time I saw her, actually, um, when she saw me, she like dropped what she was doing. She like ran up to me and like jumped on me and hugged me, right? Like jumped on me, wrapped her arms and her legs around me, like you know. This is like I've never had anybody hug me like that. This is not like you know. Never really dated, but I include it because I'm already a loser. I'm much more of a loser if I don't. But also because, like I said, I'm pretty sure that you know there was just a whole bunch of situational things that made this not really practical. Um, couldn't really work out. Bunch of things about that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't like from there. I mean, I've went like went speed dating. I've interacted with different people in different scenarios and everything like that. But you know, that's pretty much it. But I've given these things a lot of thought. I have these experiences and stuff like that, and these, the cringy kind of awkward things and stuff that I've gone through. Always been socially awkward and stuff, which means that I've had to give this like a lot of conscious thought or whatever. When you're not socially awkward, you don't have to give social interactions a lot of conscious thought. In order to like deal with them because you just kind of do them. But like when you're socially awkward, you have to give it that conscious thought. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to pull shit off. And so, I've had to give this like this conscious thought. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to pull the shit off. Hold up. And so, yeah, I mean, what really makes me qualified to talk about relationship advice? I mean, nothing. There are certainly better people that could be doing it, but I mean, They only seem to be doing it. So I'm just fucking putting out the shit that I've learned because all this red pill shit is fucking nonsense. Um, I can tell you that. Anyone can tell you that. You don't need to be a fucking super experienced fucking fuck boy to fucking tell that, right? Um, yeah. So I guess that was pretty quick. Not much really to say about that. Just you know, limited experience when it comes to dating. But like I said, fall hard and fast every time, but I always bounce back. I can't help it. Helpless romantic. I prefer that to hopeless romantic. But I suppose hopeless works as well. But I prefer the term helpless because I just can't help it. Um, you know, yeah. So now I guess toward the end, the overly complicated formula for dating. Um, now again, none of these things are like set in stone. They're not like, all these things kind of vary the way that you do them and everything like that. That's why it's an overly complicated. It's just some general kind of things to keep in mind. You know, if you're like going on a first date, right? First dates are primarily about getting to know someone. Um, so like, first dates should be, I think, like, some restaurant, like not a super fancy restaurant or whatever, that's a bit too romantic, that's like, going um, too far too fast, um, but also like I'm not talking like McDonald's or something like that. A diner or a coffee house, like cafe, something like that. Tully's would be great, but Tully's doesn't exist anymore. Fuck, we need to bring back Tully's. Bring back Tully's. Hashtag bring back Tully's. Get that trending. But it something like that. A place that you know uh like not too loud, like quiet enough where you can have a good conversation, but also like loud enough to avoid awkward silences. You know, things like that. Go for like lunch or coffee. If you drink coffee, I don't drink coffee. Coffee's good, but you get a hot chocolate or a tea or whatever. Just you know something like that. Not like super late or anything. Like early mid afternoon, something like that. Um, should be over when it's light out though, unless it goes really well. Um, something like that. Be good place for a first date. Um, interesting aside, I want to make a diner called My Place, and that way people will be like, "Hey, you want to go to my place, get a bite to eat?" Be like, "Oh, that's a bit forward. I don't know if we're there yet." It's like, no, I just mean my place, the diner. Right? That'd be great. So I actually really want to do that. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah. Uh, Second date should be more like an event. That's about like it's about like having fun, right? You know, first date's about like just getting to know the person. Second date's like having fun. Have some fun, right? So maybe like an event. You know, uh, maybe a movie, but I still might want to leave movies out. Carnivals or fairs, something like that. What's good about these kind of things, also, is that like, because these are the kind of things that like you should have this as your second date, but also like even if it's not a second date, you should still go. Right? And what I mean is like, because second dates are always kind of weird. Like, when exactly do you ask someone to go on a second date? Um, it's kind of like it's weird like that. Um, and so like like next week, 2 weeks, what like how exactly do you do that? Like I never really know these things. I'm all socially awkward about that shit. So, you know, um, so the event helps you with that because events like fairs or carnivals, right? They have like set times that they're going on. right? She's like, hey, there's a carnival this weekend. You want to go, right? Then that set time you ask about that time is the time that the event is going on. Um, it's also so you can get to know each other, but also still have fun. You know, that's like that's kind of what that is. Like you're still getting to know the person, but also like see how you have fun and everything. And so like carnivals and stuff, right? Um, and yeah, and also like that's where you can like know the event is going on this weekend or whatever. Ask her if she wants to go. She says no, you know, go yourself, whatever. Um, it shouldn't have to be a date, right? Um, but yeah, it's just kind of like you still get to know the person, but also like you're having some fun or whatever, doing some events, things like that. Rides, games, all that shit. Um, you know, good general thing like that. The third date, is where you start getting into like slightly romantic territory, but also a bit of fun. So you know, maybe dinner and a show, dinner and a movie, something like that. You know, uh, yeah, you know, maybe a movie and then dinner, or dinner and then a movie, whatever, dinner and a show, something like that. You know, we have some fun with the person and have some sort of romantic. And this is where you should, go to an actual restaurant, not like a diner or a cafe. Like go to a restaurant, and not like super super fancy, but like standard kind of nice restaurant. Um, you know, and then maybe a movie or something like that. I'd probably leave out sporting events. Um, unless you know that you're both into a sporting event, because like thing about a sport is like if the other person isn't into sports, probably not going to be a great time. If they're not into the sport that you go to. Um, but if somebody but like movies, you still have a good time at a movie, even if it's not like a super good movie or a movie that you're super into. You still have a good time. It's a lot easier for that than Um, but sporting events could be great. Again, none of these are set down, right? I mean, like, if this is somebody that you've known for a while, and you already kind of got to know them as like friends or whatever, and you're like gonna start dating, then dinner and a movie works great as a first date. You make that work. Um, you already know them, kind of. That's none of these things are set in stone. Just overly complicated formula for dating, right? First date is getting to know the person, introductions and everything like that. Second date is about fun, you know, um, and getting to know them, right? Third date's about fun and romance, getting into that romantic territory, right? Fourth date, all romance, right? Picnic at a park at midnight, great, maybe. That might be a bit late for some people, but, or like fancy restaurant, um, something like that. That's where you get to start getting into that romantic territory and everything, right? Um, but again, I mean, none of these things are set in stone. They can't be, right? You just kind of got to go with the flow. These are just like general things to like keep in mind. A general idea of like, you know, about like dating. Because a lot of people throw these things out there, right? People will say things like, don't wait 3 days or whatever, after the date, before you call them or whatever. Fuck that, right? Shoot them a text that night. Say, hey, you had a great time, can't wait to do it again. Something simple like that or whatever, Like, why not? There's no problem with that, right? You don't come off as desperate or anything like that, I mean, again, it's the, like, you know, playing hard to get and all that, right? You know, I mean, of course, you don't want to come off as desperate. You know, that's not really attractive. But I mean, you also don't want to come off as like uninterested. You know, so like, you got to find that middle ground. Um, so I mean, I wouldn't wait 3 days after a date to call somebody or text them. Like I said, I text them that night, and say, "Hey, had a great time. Can't wait to do it again." Then if they don't respond, maybe text them like one at a time. Like hey, would you be interested? But if they still don't respond, then just take the hint and drop it, right? Because like a lot of times, on dates, people will say like, "Oh yeah, it was good, and we should do it again sometime." Just as like a thing to say, right? Because like a lot of times, the date's just not great, but like the person wasn't like an overt asshole or anything, so you don't want to come off as rude, right? You don't want to come off as like I had a bad time, and just like so you don't like straight up tell them I had a bad time, I don't want to go out with you again, so you don't tell them like when you're like leaving or whatever, right? Drops you off, and I'd be like, I had a bad time, I don't want to go out with you again. Bye forever, right? Because like, unless you were dating somebody, unless you went on a date with somebody who was an overt asshole or whatever, like you don't want to come off as mean. So it's just kind of a standard, oh yeah, I had a good time, let's do it again sometime, whatever, right? And then just kind of ghost them from there, right? Just because you don't really want to like which might be meaner, but it's just kind of the way people are sometimes, right? Like, a lot of times, the person you go on a date with is going to be perfectly nice, and it's going to be a perfectly nice time, but you just weren't really feeling it. It wasn't great, I mean, they were nice, and it was a nice time and everything, but just wasn't great. I wasn't feeling it, and you know, so in those kind of situations, right? You don't want to come off as mean and say I'm just not interested or something like that, because that can come off as mean. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to, but it can. And a lot of times people are worried about like coming off as mean in those kind of situations, so they're not going to say that. So you might text somebody or whatever after a word, and they might not get back to you. And if they don't, then yeah, I mean, take the hint. They probably just weren't feeling it. Um, and go on from there. Um, and yeah, that's kind of that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you just you take things as they come. I mean, again, none of these things are like set in stone, or like don't be like, oh, first date, gotta go to a diner, gotta find a Tollies, gotta go to Japan because that's the only place where Tollies is, because that's what Colin said to go on a first date. No, like fuck that. You don't have to go to Japan and find a Tollies to go on your first date. Like, you know, you already know the person or whatever. Like, go where you think they might like and where you might like. Go to something that you both might like or whatever. This is just like a general idea. If you're dating somebody, you know, like setting up on a blind date or whatever. Say like, hey, meet me at Starbucks or whatever, because Totally doesn't exist anymore, which I'm still sad about. But um, just like something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, again, I can't stress enough that like none of these things are like set in stone. You just kind of have to go with things the way that they come. You just kind of got to take things as they come. And I mean that's just kind of how it's got to be. Um, sorry, that's my dog walking. Alice, quiet down. But hey, so probably that's probably it. Wasn't that long? Just like a short, what, about 40-minute Valentine's Day stream. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing great and having a good Valentine's Day. All 0 people that are watching this stream right now. No, but anyone that watches this after it's up or whatever, like seriously, wish you guys all the best. Hope you're having a good Valentine's Day. Mine's alright, but I'm single now, so but still helpless romantic. Love this day. But yeah, I mean, Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. 40-minute Valentine's Day stream or whatever. Said I was gonna do it. Finally did it. They seem like perfect day to do it anyway. So, yeah. Happy Valentine's Day, you guys. You know, with love to all, I guess, man. Peace out.